messing around, calling all you freaks and nerds. You're just missing what you want. My brother's going down the drain.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Interview with a Schizophrenic. I'm your host, Duncan Singer, and today I have the great pleasure of having Brad with me, and he's from Oregon on the Pacific Coast in the United States of America. He has a diagnosis of schizoaffective bipolar type, and he's in his early 40s. So welcome to the show, Brad. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. So, Brad, what I want to ask you is if you would give us a little bit of a history of what happened to make you have that diagnosis. What were the triggers? What caused it? And how you were treated? If you'd like to talk about that, that'd be fantastic.
Okay. Well, I started having issues sometime while I was in the Army, which I served for 15 years. And I started to see things. I started to hear things, but everything grew on so gradually that I really didn't know anything was wrong.
What age did you join the Army?
What's that?
What age did you join the Army?
I joined the Army in 2003, so I was 25.
Okay, fine. And did you have any symptoms before then?
I did not.
Okay, fine. So it started while you were serving. It started then. Okay, fine. Okay, so yeah, please carry on. It'd be interesting to hear your story.
Yeah, so while I was serving in Iraq the second time, I was struck by lightning, and my wife and I are pretty sure that that's about when I started having issues. Okay. And I don't know if it's from a brain injury or what from that point. But as I said, I really didn't think I had a large issue or wasn't aware that I had an issue. But I was in the mental health system for a lot of depression and anxiety and things like that.
Okay.
But one day, sitting on the porch of our apartment in Los Angeles where I was going to school, I asked my wife, what does thoughts sound like? And she thought it was a very odd question and tried to describe how thoughts work inside of her head. And realizing that this was a very different process for her as it was for me, that kind of began my journey to being medically retired out of the Army for my schizoaffective disorder.
Okay, fine. So, So you spent 15 years in the Army. You were stationed in Iraq. You're hit by a lightning bolt, which may have been a trigger for some psychosis, and eventually you were medically retired. So, I mean, did you see much action when you were in the Army?
I was there as a construction engineer, so I saw, except for a lightning blast and then one mortar that came in kind of close to me, I saw no action.
Okay, fine. But you were still in a war zone.
Yeah, still in a war zone. I mean, there were still things happening around me, but never to me.
Okay, cool, man. So when you came home to America, and then that is when you found out that you were not, your mind wasn't working as it should be.
So yeah, many years later, like 10 years later.
After the lightning bolt?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So why don't you tell us about that? So you saw a psychiatrist? I mean, what happened there?
I saw many psychiatrists, but I went through a pretty big circus of diagnoses on there. Initially, just you've got some anxiety issues here, take this Ativan, or you have depression, try this SSRI, and they kept trying me on different that kept trying me on different antidepressants, thinking I was just depressed, and none of them seemed to really work for me.
Okay.
And in fact, all they did was cause side effects that made things worse. But eventually, when I was in Los Angeles going to grad school as an army assignment, I was seeing Air Force doctors instead of Army doctors,
Yeah.
and they seemed a lot more willing to diagnose me. And then they didn't have a psychiatrist on staff, so they sent me to a civilian psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And that was the time when they started giving me what I felt like was true and real diagnoses,
Yeah.
which was good for my mental health and for making me live a better life and everything. But it was a career killer for me.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fine, but there's a few things there. For one thing, once you get the diagnosis, which you're most comfortable with, which explains most of your symptoms, you can work on your recovery. And once you start working on your recovery, you can work on with building a better life. So yeah, you're obviously that say I think everybody with some sort of schizo type disorder goes through tremendous changes with that occupation. You know, I
Yeah,
think I think that happens to pretty much all of them. You know, um, so I mean, so what do you? Are you retired now? Do you? Is there anything? Do you want to get back into the working environment? I mean, do you think you can?
I tried working at 5 different jobs after I was retired from the army, and my condition made them all untenable to where I couldn't do it. So I am just retired now.
Okay, fine. So I mean, when you're retired, I mean, do you find how do you spend your time?
I well, my wife would tell you I just spend most of my time just kind of following her around the house, wondering what she's doing. But I spend a lot of time with video games. I do I do write on my blog,
Yeah,
and then I'm working on a memoir about my mental health journey through the military right now too.
yeah, that's right. You've got a blog about your life experiences with schizoaffective and the army. Yeah, that which is that's fantastic because I think the more and more that we talk about what we're going through and we make it and we so people can hear our stories, that's gonna break down the stigma surrounding schizotype disorders. So that's a great thing you're doing with your writing. Because that's we've got to be heard. I
That's
think.
one of my big goals is to do my part as an individual to erase some stigmas. I mean, here I am with all kinds of training to where I can be a violent person, but there's absolutely nothing violent about me. I'm not a violent person.
Is there a community of veterans? Because I know they with veterans, some of them do develop psychosis due to being in the war zone. Is there a local community for veterans that you can attend or anything like that?
There's really there's really not, and I don't live in a very I mean the closest city to me is Portland, and that's 2 hours away.
Okay.
So I live in a pretty small community. There is a veterans of foreign wars here, but from my experience, that's more of a drinking club and a bar than it is that. And with my medication, I don't drink at all. So
Okay, fine. So yeah, I think it must be. I've got no idea, but I think of when you say a small town, I think of like in First Blood when Sylvester Stallone walked in. Yeah, man. What's your town like, man?
it's actually a really friendly, really inclusive town. The
Yeah,
like for instance, the town is loaded with pride flags, and
yeah,
it's a very inclusive town. I don't think anybody feels uncomfortable here.
yeah. That's nice. Yeah.
It is a really nice. It reminds me of the small towns I grew up in the Midwest, except for if you're different here, it's appreciated.
Can you talk about? Can you be open about your mental health condition, or is that not something you can do?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty open about it. As I say, I'm out of the crazy closet.
Yeah.
So, no, all my neighbors know about my condition. My friends here, they know I'm pretty forthright with it.
Yeah. I mean, because I definitely believe that is the thing to do because at the end of the day, it's just a medical condition. It's not as if we're witches or something. It's not something. It's kind of medieval that you're not allowed to talk about a medical condition that you have because people fear it. So yeah, we've got to talk about it. We've got to be open. Um, and I think you get to a certain age where you think, well, look, I'm not gonna just keep it quiet. This is part of my identity. This is part of who I am.
Yeah, and I'm able to do that in my part of the United States. Now, when I lived in the middle of the United States in Kansas, which was my first home after I got out of the army,
Yeah,
I was not able to do that so much.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, but also you're older now. I mean, there's that as well, and there's also sometimes you kind of just want to be introverted. I think.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's part of the condition that you don't want people prying in. You don't. But I mean, I guess that I think there just comes a time where you think, well, oh, it's what the hell. I'm just gonna say what I want and be who I am. So yeah. So let me
Yeah.
ask you some questions. How did your friends react throughout your lifetime, now that you've gone through the army and now becoming um, medically retired? How did your friends treat you?
Um, most of them pretty good. I mean, I kind of back before I knew what was going on with me and I was kind of spiraling through life a little bit, I kind of disillusioned a lot of my friends then.
Yeah,
So I'd lost most of my friends. There are some that I still have
yeah,
now, and it's a changed relationship, but the problem that I have is that with that is it's not really fair for me to comment on this because I live a long ways away from any of them right now. So my
yeah,
relationships with
yeah,
them are just on Facebook.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's perfectly understandable. I think you know, for my own life story, um, I think when you're going through something difficult like this, people, your friends can distance you, and I just it's the reason I asked the question is because it just I just want to show people how hard it can be with this condition because sometimes the ones close to us can just let us go. Um,
Hmm.
I think it's it's just that's the way life is. It's difficult, especially when you're in your 20s or 30s. That it's difficult for people to understand. Yeah. So tell me, Brett, what when you're at home, do you experience are you experiencing psychotic symptoms? And if so, do you employ any coping methods to help you and to soothe your mind?
At my home, I'm usually in really good shape. It's kind of my
Yeah.
home base, and I don't have a lot of issues there. I
Okay.
have when I have problems, it's usually when I'm around strangers. Like for
Okay.
instance, yes, last night we were at a Halloween party,
Yeah.
and the only person that I knew there was the couple that was hosting it, and my wife and my own children.
Yeah.
And I got to the place to where I couldn't do it anymore. So I turned to my wife and said, I would really like you to take me home. And we
Okay.
opted to just all leave at that point.
Okay.
But the host family is somebody that knows about me, knows about my condition. And April was my wife, was able to just go and tell them, hey, Brad's having issues, so we're going to take him home.
Okay.
And by the time I got home, I was okay. Now, in the car, I did take a rescue drug, a Klonopin, so I wouldn't have a panic attack. But,
Okay.
which that always kind of derails the rest of my day. But once I got home, I was good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think home, it's got to be a safe place. If it's not a safe place, it's not home. So, I mean, that's got to be. Brad, do you smoke? Do you take nicotine?
No.
You don't? Never? Have you ever smoked?
Yeah, the last time I had a cigarette was in Iraq. I quit when I left there.
Okay, fine. Fine.
And
Because
then
a
I
lot of
smoked when I was a
people.
bartender back in college.
Okay, fine. I mean, because a lot of people with these sort of conditions do take nicotine in some form or the other.
Sure.
So have you experienced being bullied?
Being bullied?
Yeah,
Not really, no. Growing up, I was kind of friends with everybody.
yeah. Okay. And what sort of hobbies do you enjoy while you're at home?
I'm a shameless video game addict.
Okay.
But lately with the what's the science term for it? Anhedonia. Lately
Yeah.
with the anhedonia, I don't even care to play video games.
Is that the apathy sort of thing?
The apathy thing.
Yeah. I mean, to be
Yeah,
honest
with
with you,
with the inability to experience pleasure.
yeah, okay, yeah, got it with you. Um, yeah, I used to be a gamer as well, and to be honest, I don't play as much as I used to. I just can't get into it.
That's where I'm at too.
Yeah, it's just strange because it's like I still love all that stuff, but I just can't get into it.
Yeah.
But
And then I am trying to get back into scuba diving.
okay, that's good. Can you
So
scuba dive locally?
no, I did in of all places Alaska. I scuba dove up there.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
But then I got married and life happened and
Yeah, I mean,
but now I'm starting to get back into it. My kids are at an age where I can have hobbies again.
yeah, I mean, you just got to take it easy. You got to work on your recovery, and so I mean, that's fine. So, okay, I just want to ask you one more question. Is there anything I haven't asked that you would like to talk about?
Oh gosh, I don't know because we covered like the stigmas and stuff, and that's always my big topic I like to talk about is that schizophrenia it's a brain disorder. It's something real that happens to people,
Yeah,
and even though we don't understand it completely, I wouldn't shun somebody because there's something wrong with their heart,
exactly.
but there's something that's wrong with our brains,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
nothing that we should be discriminated against about. But
Do you feel you've been discriminated?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, more on a personal level than professional.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've experienced it as well. So yeah, it's not nice. It's not a nice feeling, and yeah, I mean that's kind of what that's why like writing a blog and me doing this podcast. I think it's so important that we have a voice and that we just we let people, if they say, somebody says what is schizophrenia, well, you can read about it on the internet, you can read a blog, or you can listen to this podcast, you can understand it. You can hear it from the horse's mouth, and just see that it's a condition. It's a medical condition. It's not a personality trait. So,
No.
I mean, yeah. Okay, Brad. What sort of music do you like to listen to? What sort of genre?
Oh, lately I've been listening to a lot of 80s and 90s punk music.
Okay, fine. Do you punk music? Okay. Do you like any of that retro wave, synthwave stuff?
Synthwave?
It's like it's like inspired by the 80s synthesizer music. Like do you know what I mean? Like
No,
sort of,
I'm not familiar with it, but
okay, no worries. Okay, fine. So 80s punk, no, 80s and 90s punk music. I shall look for that and see what I can do. Anyway, thank you very much for talking to me today, Brad. It was a real pleasure.
all right. Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem at all. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
All right, you too.
Everybody
Bye.
out in the world, stop messing around. Calling all you freaks and nerds, you're just missing what you want. My brother's going down the drain, my sister's living the dream, but everybody's singing along. It's okay, we'll all soon be gone. Hey, what's the matter with the bright red lights? Hey, in the moment when the world went blind, but everything's alright. We don't give a damn this time. My daddy was a gambling man with no strategy. Who gives a shit about him anymore? Guess we never really settled the score. Half the town screaming out in vain, the other half is fake, but everybody's singing along. It's okay, we'll all soon be gone. Hey,